Okay, so I've officially spent a week with the iPhone and a week with the Samsung. Now it's time to decide which phone is going to be my permanent daily driver. The one I'm going to choose is... I have been an Android user ever since the Galaxy S7 to the Sony Xperia X Compact to the Google Pixel 2, Pixel 3a, Galaxy S10e, then to the new S21, and now I've made the life-changing decision to move to iPhone, specifically the iPhone 12 mini. So today we'll mainly be talking about the switch from the Samsung S21 to the new iPhone 12 mini. I'm going to first start by saying that both of these phones are amazing. The build quality on the S21 is superb, and the form factor of the iPhone 12 mini is great for me, at least. Let's talk about pricing first. So on T-Mobile's website, the iPhone 12 mini is at $729, but that's for the base models of both. So for the 12 mini, that's only 64 gigabytes, whereas the S21 is 128 gigabytes. If you bump the 12 mini up to the 128 gig model, that's going to be $779, $50 price bump. Not the end of the world, and is still technically cheaper than the S21. The thing to note about these two is that there is almost always a promotion going on, depending on whatever carrier you're on. For me specifically, I'm on T-Mobile, and they usually have a lot of good deals. For example, the S21 was basically free for me. There was a trade-in promotion going on at the time when this thing was released, and if you pre-ordered the S21 and traded in an old device, then you were potentially eligible for the whole thing to be free. So I didn't pay anything for this. So if pricing is the biggest issue here, and it was between these two phones, then yeah, the iPhone 12 mini is going to be the cheaper option, but not by much. And there's a lot other cheaper alternatives out there, such as the iPhone SE or any of the other Samsung models that aren't their top tier lines. Now let's talk about the camera. A lot of people care about the cameras on these phones. I personally don't. The reason for that is because I'm a photographer and I have my own high-end professional camera. I rarely ever take any pics on these phones for social media or whatever. The only times really I'm using them is for Instagram and Snapchat stories. That's it. So if you're looking for a super in-depth camera review, it's not going to be here. However, where the iPhone excels compared to the Android is in Instagram and Snapchat camera app. When you're using the camera app in Instagram or Snapchat, you have the option to switch from the normal camera lens to the ultra wide lens, allowing you to take super wide angles that are pretty unique and awesome in my opinion, and makes you stand out from everybody else. With the Samsung, even though they have a really nice ultra wide camera, it's not allowed in these apps for some reason. And we'll touch on that reason later on, but that is the one disadvantage of using the Samsung phones for social media story posting. Now then again, if you're a professional that relies on stories and whatnot, you can do all of that in your professional camera and make it look a lot better. But I will say that that is a huge advantage with iPhone users because Instagram and Snapchat are much more optimized for iPhones. Now the next topic I'll be talking about is the size difference. I think when it comes down to it, you should pick the phone that feels the most comfortable in your hand and you can see yourself using it all day, because a lot of us are using it all day, even though we shouldn't be, but it is kind of a part of us. So first let's start off by saying I don't have like the biggest hands. They're either on the slightly smaller size. When I'm holding the S21, right, it feels good in the hand. If I'm trying to navigate around the phone, I'm gonna have to do that awkward slide and finger gymnastics just to move around. However, Samsung is pretty smart on this because they allow you to swipe down from the top from the middle of the screen, which I love, and Apple doesn't do that, unfortunately. Now with the 12 mini, this thing is the perfect fit in my hand. That's for me specifically. If you had really big hands, I probably would not recommend this phone for you. Without the case, it feels even smaller. So I personally like cases, and I'm in love with this Rhino Shield case, mainly because of the geometric wolf, but it just feels perfect with the case on. And this case is very hard. Like, really hard. As for the quality of the phone, I love the plastic back on the S21. It just feels really smooth. And this is the first time I've used a phone without a case because I just never got around to ordering one. I love how this feels. The 12 mini, I hate the glass. It's a fingerprint magnet. It just shows up everywhere. It doesn't feel good. I hate it. So I got a case. Apple, would it really kill you to give a matte finish to the back of these phones? Like, come on. Next thing we're going to talk about is speed. Once again, not a huge tech review. We're not going to go too deep into the speeds. All you need to know is that they both run very fast. The 12 mini has the same A14 Bionic chip that's found in the iPhone 12. It's literally the same thing. You're going to get the same speeds, it's just in a smaller body. The S21 has a new Snapdragon 888. I don't know really much about their chips, but I know it's the latest one and it's really good. They're both really fast. My favorite feature on the S21 is the refresh rate. Having this refresh rate on the screen is amazing. I've never had a 120 hertz refresh rate. I never really had pro phones. Like I said, the one before this was the S10e, which is the budget phone. And I never had a really fast refresh rate on that. So I never really knew what I was missing out on. But after getting used to it on the S21, I was like, this is amazing. Wow, like it's so fast. It's so clear. It's crispy, you know, it just looks good. And then after I got used to that on the S21 and then moved to the 12 mini, it's gone. Did I miss it? Yes. It's not the end of the world, but it'd be nice to have. Hopefully the new iPhone 13s next year have them. It's something that you never knew you wanted until you've had it, and then it was taken away from you, if that makes sense. One thing I've noticed as far as using apps on my iPhone is that all my apps actually run better on iPhone compared to Android. Now hear me out. I've been on Android forever, right? So I've been using all the apps on them. There's some times when I'm using an app and it just doesn't work as fast as I think it should be. For example, Spotify. Opening Spotify runs great. Inside the app, when I'm loading my podcast, sometimes it'll just lag and freeze and never load my actual episodes. Whereas on the iPhone, everything just works smoothly, no issues. Maybe I've had an app here or there freeze on me, but the percentage of times that has happened to me is significantly less than the times it's happened on the Samsung. Now, I think the reason for this is because developers are able to make apps much more optimized for the iPhone compared to the Android. There's only a handful of iPhone models out in the world right now, but when you look at Androids, there's hundreds of different models from OnePlus, Samsung, Sony, Oppo, LG. There's so many that I can't really think of because I probably don't even know the names of half of them. But yeah, the developers have to make the apps work just enough to fit well on all Android devices, which is tough for them. But it's a lot easier for them to optimize it for Apple devices since there's such a smaller selection of models. Hopefully that made sense. Again, that's just my opinion and what I've heard from other tech reviewers, and it just makes sense. Now let's talk about compatibility and the ecosystem. So prior to this whole switch, I was strictly a PC user. I have the Dell XPS 15, which I love. I had a custom built PC meant for video and photo editing, which was good, but it was starting to slow down. And I've just been on PC forever, so I was used to Windows and I loved it. But along my work journey, I picked up an iPad Pro. There are iOS specific apps that are needed for my real estate work. And then along that, I picked up the AirPods Pro because I wanted a really nice pair of headphones for working out. So right there, I already have 2 Apple products. And I was using them interchangeably between my Android and PC products. And there was never an issue, but there were inconveniences. One feature I really liked with Android was Google Messages. Think of it as the iMessage for Google. The nice thing about this app was that it operated like iMessages. I could have a messaging tab open on my Google Chrome browser and connect it to my phone and still receive and send text messages. And yes, you still get read receipts and everything if you're messaging someone else using the Google Messages app. Now, fast forward to iMessage. Everybody has an iPhone, everybody uses iMessage. If you're an Android user like me, you'll know what it feels like to be that oddball out that's never in the group message because you have a green bubble. I never complained about it, but now that I switched over to iPhone, I realize how many of my friends, colleagues, associates, how many of them really have iPhones. Since switching to the iPhone, the iOS integration is amazing. From messaging to my phone, to my iPad, to my new MacBook, it's been pretty good. Now let's talk about the cons of switching from Android to iPhone. The thing I like most about Androids and PCs is how easy it was to transfer files between one another. Using Windows, it's as simple as connecting your phone to the computer, opening up file browser, and then just click and drag the files over to wherever you want it. Doing that with an iPhone to a PC, very annoying. And the same thing with a MacBook to an Android phone. It's still annoying. Also, I've heard other users have good experiences switching over their information from their Android to their iPhone device. I didn't have that much of a good experience. Going from my S10e to my S21 was pretty simple. I was able to connect a USB-C to C cable and just transfer everything over. That was pretty simple. But when I tried to do the same from the S10e to the iPhone 12 mini, it was not good. It took a while and I didn't even get to send everything over. Another con is USB-C. I love USB-C. I have USB-C cables everywhere. Even the iPad Pro 2018 model has a USB-C port. Why does Apple still use lightning cables in 2021? Even the MacBook has 4 USB ports on it. Like, why, Apple? Just move to USB-C, it's so good. And this might be a debatable point, but I do personally feel that Apple products are a lot more expensive. I mean, they're kind of like the bougie and premium product, am I right? That's not to say that Android, Samsung, Windows, they don't have expensive products too. They do. I mean, just look at the AirPods Max. Like, why? Now let's talk about the pros of switching over. The biggest pro that I have to say is iMessage. Now that I can communicate with them better with iMessage, everything is just more seamless. And as stupid as this is to say, Apple's done a really good job of almost segregating Android users into their own little pool and making them feel inferior to the Apple users, where they show up as green and you can't do anything with them, and you can only do the fun stuff with blue Apple users. They've created their own society almost, like a VIP club. Maybe that's just me conspiracing about it, but group chats are nice that I'm finally in them. Literally all my friends have iPhones. It's very strange. I also just got a MacBook Pro, and transferring files using AirDrop is very easy. A lot easier than connecting a cable into it, which I never minded, but hey, if you can just AirDrop everything, why not? FaceTime is a bonus. It's nice to be able to FaceTime people now. And this next one is something more that I hope to get out of this phone rather than a feature, but having a smaller phone should hopefully prevent me from using the phone as much. The idea is, with a smaller screen, I'm less inclined to consume content and media on it, therefore reducing my screen on time. I personally feel we are way too attached to these things, and anything I can do to try to mitigate that screen on time is a plus. Let's not forget about battery life. Everybody's been saying that 12 mini has horrible battery life, and my opinion is, it's not the best. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. The S21, amazing battery life. I can easily get through a whole day's use consisting of Instagram, YouTube, messaging, Snapchat, Google Maps, Chrome. Nothing crazy. I don't really play games, but I do watch a lot of media on it. And I can get through a whole day with one charge. With the 12 mini, however, there are some days where I can get through a whole day without having to charge it. But then there are other days where I'm running pretty low before half of the day's over, so I'll throw it on the charge just to get some extra energy. And sometimes I find myself charging it 1 to 2 times throughout the day if I'm near a desk or in the car and I just want to throw it on the charger. So I'll say it's not the best. It's not as good as the 12 or the S21. And in its defense, I drive a lot, so it's connected to the car. It's either playing music, podcasts, or videos. So there's a lot of streaming going on, which might be the bigger consumption of the battery. But I think in the end, it just really depends on your use case and how much you're using your phone. All right, in conclusion, do I regret the switching from the Android to the iPhone? The answer is no. No, not really. The only reason I really made the full switch over is because I recently sold my editing PC and I'm going to sell my Dell XPS laptop. I was able to trade my custom-built PC for the 16-inch MacBook Pro i9 2019 edition with a terabyte SSD. The deal I got on that was amazing, so I couldn't say no. My line of work is photography and videography. I'm always editing, and I really want to see how well these MacBooks edited, and let me just say, wow, what have I been doing all my life? I always thought PCs edited much better with Premiere and Adobe products, and they do fine, but the MacBook just slices it like nothing. Like, it does very well. And that's with the i9 processor. Can't wait to upgrade to the new M1 MacBooks. Also, I'm migrating from Adobe Premiere Pro to Final Cut because I don't like the subscription price model, and Final Cut just runs a lot more smoothly on Macs. So since I'm moving everything to Mac, it just makes sense that my daily driver, my phone, should also be an Apple product. It's nice that they all communicate so well together. Like being able to go from a phone call with my iPhone and my AirPods plugged in into watching a video on YouTube with my iPad Pro, how it just switches seamlessly. That's really nice, and I like that. It's simple. Makes your life a lot more simple. That's what we really want, isn't it? If you liked the video and if it provided you any type of value, I would highly appreciate it if you could like the video. Comment down below what you liked, what you didn't like, any questions you may have, what the next video should be, whatever you got, throw it at me. I think I'll be making a few more iPhone 12 mini videos because they're kind of fun and I kind of really like this phone. Anyways, thanks for watching and I will see you next time. Another reason I got this phone was this case. Like, this case is so nice. Alright, that's it. We're done. This video's gone way too long. And stop.